It is Wednesday, the 5th of November, 2025 at Protestia Studios. This is an intelligence briefing coming to you from Protestia.com, where you can find the latest in Christian polemics and discernment news. Sign up for our insightful news blast and support us by becoming an insider supporter over at patreon.com/Protestia. Let's get into some headlines. First headline coming to you from Protestia.com. Hundreds of Assemblies of God churches accused of shielding child predators in new report. A deep dive into the Assemblies of God has revealed a, quote, 50-year pattern of sex abuse, silence, and cover-up in the world's largest Pentecostal denomination, according to NBC News, which has been investigating sex abuse allegations in the Assemblies of God as part of their Pastors and Pray series. Of course, we would take NBC News a little bit with a grain of salt, but let's look at what they're reporting. They're saying that a children's pastor, and these are just some examples, a children's pastor was caught filming girls in a church bathroom in Arkansas. Elders suspended him for a few weeks. In Illinois, a preacher was accused of sexually abusing children. Church leaders sent him to therapy rather than call the police. In California, a worship minister went to prison for molesting boys. His congregation threw him a party when he returned. All of these men remained in ministry in the Assemblies of God, the world's largest Pentecostal denomination. All went on to abuse more children. Founded in 1914, the Assemblies of God USA has close to 13,000 churches in the U.S. with around 1.8 million congregants attending church on a weekly basis. While the churches are essentially autonomous, the Assemblies of God has been resistant to bringing in stricter oversight, with NBC News noting that while some of the other largest Christian denominations now require safeguards, such as background checks and mandatory reporting, National Assemblies of God leaders have resisted, arguing such rules would increase legal risk, undermine its commitment to local church autonomy, and defy a core biblical command to forgive. Of course, as a Southern Baptist myself, the SBC also believes and practices autonomous churches, but we would argue, at least if we're being faithful, that if somebody commits a crime and you're aware of it, you turn them over to the civil magistrate. You can read more about this story with the Assemblies of God over at Protestia.com. We published it a couple days ago. Moving on, next headline, Texas Supreme Court allows judges to refuse to perform same-sex weddings in what has been hailed as a massive rollback for LGBTQ rights. A new ruling by the Texas Supreme Court has granted judges the freedom to refuse to perform, quote, same-sex weddings if it violates their sincerely held religious beliefs. While previously, judges who refused could face disciplinary actions on account that it would, quote, cast doubt on their ability to act impartially or interfere with the proper performance of judicial duties, the state's judicial codes have been updated to read, quote, it is not a violation of these canons for a judge to publicly refrain from performing a wedding ceremony based upon a sincerely held religious belief. This is a good move, hopefully a step towards potentially, well, let's see, maybe overturning Obergefell, but we will see. You can read more about this over at Protestia.com. Next headline, Kenneth Copeland's granddaughter says he's not that rich and is on a mission to rewrite his legacy. Courtney Copeland Acuna, 32 years old, is the co-founder and CEO of You and Me Media, a podcast company that produces and distributes high-level content for clients. She's also the newly minted Chief Marketing Officer for Kenneth Copeland Ministries and the granddaughter of the famed prosperity heretic. You can see pictures over here of Kenneth Copeland's new CEO or Chief Marketing Officer, CMO, I guess, for Kenneth Copeland Ministries, appearing on the similarly different podcast. She talks about dispelling false stories about her grandfather and her mission to present him in a better light to the world. We edited out a judicious use of the term like for the transcript. If you actually listen to the video, there are a lot of likes using the word like in the transcript, which we edited out for your reading convenience. In November of last year, my grandfather was like, this is her, of course, was like, hey, do you feel like it's time for you to move home? We're like, yeah. Actually, we've been talking about, let me see if we have a clip of this. Yeah, let's watch the clip instead of having me narrate it.
Put your 88-year-old grandfather on a platform and see what he says. There's going to be some moments where you're like, November of last year, my grandfather was like, hey, do y'all feel like it's time for you to move home? We were like, yeah, actually, we've been talking about that. So we came back, and in April, he just stopped me and he was like, all that stuff that you went and learned out in LA over the last 7 years, I need that here. I need what you learned out there. I need it here. And my dad, after a series of events, became CEO again. And now my dad's CEO, I'm CMO, which is crazy. But it's I see it as an honor. 3 years ago, I would have maybe not seen it as quite the honor. I would have seen it as a project. Like, I need to fix this public perception of what the world sees as of my grandfather. And I just don't see it that way. Like, if people knew what happened out there and the amount of people that we helped and the amount of money that's given every month to other organizations and home, like, we do a disaster relief project. And
why don't you guys announce it?
Well, that's part of like why I'm going back. Like, I'm watching all these people post trash about my grandfather. I'm like, you were so wrong. Like, I just like yell it from the rooftops, like, you have no idea. But also, my grandfather doesn't care. Yeah. Like, I asked him, I was like, what do you think about all this? Which he doesn't even know about. He's not on social media. He doesn't watch TV. So, like, he has no idea that any of this is going on. And I was like, what, I told him, I was like, there's a documentary coming out. They like flew a drone up to your front door. And he was like, I don't listen to the praise and I don't listen to the hate. I just keep my head down and do my job. If the Lord wants to shut this down, he'll shut it down. Like, that was his response. I'm just like, cool, I'll just ride that wave with you.
It's pretty typical for family members to be deceived about the false beliefs or sin of their family members, for sure. That's one of the ways that sin enters and compromise enters. But Kenneth Copeland is, being regarded as one of the richest teachers in America. He's known for giving false prophecies about COVID being destroyed, throwing someone in a wheelchair to the floor, casting away bald spots in Jesus' name, running his own bizarro Bible college, casting away bald spots, laughing demonically at the media for 34 seconds straight, claiming God told him he'll live to 120 years, receiving a $230,000 luxury car from a dying man as a, quote, seed offering, and claiming that God is basically a powerless wimp. We have the links to that. So Kenneth Copeland's granddaughter here trying to rewrite his legacy. Afraid to tell her it's not going to work. Certainly not going to work. Moving on, next headline at Protestia.com. This state is named the most pro-life state in America. We are talking about the state of Arkansas, followed by Louisiana, Indiana, Oklahoma, and Mississippi, rounding out the top 5 most pro-life states. According to AUL, this life list ranks states from most to least pro-life based on their existing life-affirming policies, looking at each state's protection for life from conception to natural death. This includes laws on abortion, legal recognition of preborn children, bioethics, assisted suicide, and end-of-life patient care, and healthcare rights of conscience. Additionally, states are awarded points for their life-affirming cultural and political landscape and momentum. On the back end, Washington, Hawaii, Vermont, New Jersey, and Oregon are all ranked in the bottom 5. I'm sure that my state the state of Colorado is probably somewhere down near the bottom of the list. Yep, there we are at number, looks like 43. So yeah, way down. We are slightly less pro-life than California. Starting with, of course, it's usually going to move to red to blue states on a list like this, but you can check it out, this story at Protestia.com. Specifically, some of the policies that Arkansas has put into place to make it the most pro-life state currently in the union. Moving on, 87-year-old pastor found not guilty of possessing child porn after folder discovered on computer. Rocky Goodwin, the lead pastor at Calvary Baptist Church in Warren, Arkansas, was found not guilty of possessing child sex abuse material a year after a trove of images was found on his computer. Goodwin, who is 86 years old and received an award in 2022 celebrating 60 years in the ministry, was arrested for distributing, possession, or viewing matter depicting sexually explicit conduct involving a child after a year-long investigation. According to the Kansas City Star, the investigation began in May 2023 when Microsoft informed officers that a suspected child porn image had been uploaded on a user's computer into a reverse image search on Bing. According to an affidavit, 2 similar images were uploaded months later, authorities said. Investigators learned all 3 reverse image searches contained CSAM. Investigators said officers executed a search warrant at Goodwin's home in May of 2024, seizing his laptop. According to the complaint, files on the computer included zip files with sexual labels, including one labeled with the words 12-year-old girl, authorities said. Investigators found 71 images in total. Goodwin was found not guilty after just an hour of deliberation following a two-day trial. He was described by friends and family as a God-fearing man with little to no experience using computers. His son told reporters, "We knew Dad's incapacity of navigating a laptop and he just couldn't do it. We knew that he's incapable." Throughout the trial, the defense suggested that the files found on his computer resulted from a virus or malware and that Goodwin's laptop was hacked. For their part, prosecutors called to the stand investigators from the state's digital evidence lab who testified that while some files showed traces of a virus, his computer was not infected. Here's to hoping that this jury made the right decision and that it indeed was a misunderstanding. I don't know if we'll ever know, but certainly if we find out more, we will let you know. Next headline at Protestia.com, Dallas judge to rule this week whether defamation suit against Gateway Church and Robert Morris can proceed. A Dallas judge is expected to rule this week whether or not Cindy Clemenshire's $1 million defamation lawsuit against convicted pedophile Robert Morris and his former church, Gateway Church, will proceed. Clemenshire launched the civil suit against Morris, his wife, and nearly a dozen Gateway Church elders, alleging they made false statements to cover up Morris's sexual abuse. In early October, Morris pled guilty to 5 counts of lewd and indecent conduct and received 10 years in prison with 9.5 years suspended, so that he will only have to serve 6 months. According to CBS News, attorneys for the church and the group of current elders argued that they were exempt from the suit under a doctrine called ecclesiastical abstention, which prevents courts from interfering in the operations and governance of a church. The lawyer representing Clemenshire argued that the actions involved were purely secular in nature and did not fall under the exemption. We will see what happens with this. We will keep following it, of course. Next headline over at Protestia, megachurch pastor charges $12,000 a year for lessons in, quote, how to be the goat for the kingdom. I couldn't believe this when I saw it. You can see on we'll make it larger for you, but over here, this the landing page, go from good to goat, join the farm. That's right. It says join the farm, meaning that Keith Craft, the senior pastor of Elevate Life Church, a megachurch in Texas, wants you to join his goat farm. Yes, you got that right. The megachurch pastor wants you to join a goat farm. That makes perfect sense. We previously covered Keith Craft after discovering that he offers life mastery courses for a mere $84,000 a year, but only to those who, quote, have established a multi-million-dollar net worth and annualized earnings of $1 million plus and demonstrate an unwavering commitment to personal and professional achievement and a deep desire to live the kingdom legacy they want to leave. So basically, he's trying to find millionaires who I guess want the spiritual stamp of a pastor, and so they're going to pay him $84,000 a year. Maybe that's chump change for somebody earning more than $1 million a year. It still seems like real money to me. But he's recently launched another venture in conjunction with his son Joshua Craft and entrepreneur Joshua too, called The Goat Farm, a kingdom-minded coaching community for high-capacity leaders committed to become the greatest of all time in every area of life. You can see it here. This is the purpose of The Goat Farm, to help you become great in every area, reproduce that greatness in others. We don't build success for ego. We build to multiply impact. Ah, yes, the mega church mantra of impact, which is, of course, a subjective metric nobody can actually measure. But what you can measure is it's going to cost you $12,000 a year. Yes, $1,000 a month to talk face-to-face with these guys. They're going to help you, in Texas speak, live your best life now. Crazy. You can read more about what all of this entails over at Protestia.com if you dare. Last headline for this intelligence briefing, Catholic priest suspended for bomb mosques message using the pseudonym Skinhead Lad 1488. A Roman Catholic priest will avoid jail time after admitting to posting racist messages in an online neo-Nazi chat room using the pseudonym Skinhead Lad 1488. Mark Rolls, 57, who oversaw the parish at St. John Lloyd Catholic Church in Rumney, UK, was suspended last year after being outed by counter-terror police who were monitoring extremist social media groups, in this case, the Telegram group Aryan Reich Killers. Now, we should mention here that the UK is not some sort of bastion of free speech. As offensive as what it sounds like Mark Rolls said here, in the United States, he would have the right to say it without fear of persecution, prosecution, being thrown in jail, but not in the UK. According to the Telegraph, he wrote a number of offensive messages, including one in which he wrote "bomb mosques," and another in which he used a racial slur and said, quote, "They should all be strung up or shot." In a discussion with another user in the group about London's ethnic diversity, he wrote, "A few bullets in their brains would help." This would be kind of on the line as far as American free speech laws go, potentially, depending on the context and whatnot, veering into the realm of dangerous speech, the realm of fire in a crowded theater kind of stuff. But in the UK, just saying things that offends their DEI sensibilities is usually enough to get you in trouble, fined maybe, potentially thrown in jail, arrested for sure. He was arrested and insisted during his police interviews he was not racist, but rather was merely lonely. Get this, he was rather merely lonely and had a sexual fetish for role play. In court, he admitted to 3 counts of sending menacing or offensive messages, sentenced to 12-month community order, $260 fine, I don't know if that's pounds or what, ordered to do 150 hours of community service, and put on 3-year behavioral order. You have to wonder if maybe him saying that, hey, this is all related to some sort of sexual fetish, caused the authorities in the UK to give pause, lest they persecute him for being a sexual minority. We're not sure. Anyway, thank you for tuning in for this intelligence briefing from Protestia.com. Stay tuned to Protestia for all of your latest in Christian polemics and discernment news. We will see you again next time. As always, Semper Reformanda.